The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi everyone, thank you for joining us today. We'll just give it another couple of minutes to make sure everyone's on, and then I'll start the presentation, so just bear with me. Okay, great. Let's get started. Thanks for allowing me to present to you today. We're going to be covering one of CreditorWatch products called DebtorLogic Plus today. DebtorLogic Plus is a age trial balance tool which helps you assess who your best customers are, who your potentially worst customers are, but also identifying who the best people to chase money up from is. Traditionally, credit managers will look at the oldest debt to chase, and sometimes it's not the best way to do it. What we hope to do today is, via DebtorLogic Plus, show you the lowest hanging fruit, who's using you as a bank and paying other people on time. Adversely, who is your good customers but paying other people late, so potentially those that are riskiest to your business. So what we're going to cover today, a little bit about CreditorWatch, the sources of data that feed into CreditorWatch Bureau and how some of this information is collated and then used in the age trial balance product. We're going to do a live demonstration with some dummy data. This is obviously significantly more valuable with your own data in there because you recognize some of those good and bad names that you end up chasing every month. And then we're going to have a quick question and answer at the end. So a little bit about CreditorWatch. CreditorWatch is Australia's leading commercial credit bureau. We have over 50,000 customers. Those customers range from small sole traders, single owner operators, up to ASX listed entities. The unique, value that CreditorWatch provides is that breadth of data. We're not just dealing with the largest companies in Australia, we're also dealing with grassroots businesses. What we typically find is smaller sole traders are the first to be defaulted when someone's having cash flow problems. They are typically second or third tier suppliers to a company, and therefore they're the first to be not paid when something is going awry. We also find that small businesses are the most likely to default because it's $5,000 or $3,000 out of their direct back pocket rather than being just a line item on an age trial balance. So the information that we're going to view today in DebtorLogic, it comes from a couple of sources, predominantly from corporate trade credit information, so where corporates provide their age trial balance. but also we're the only bureau that links directly with Xero and MYOB, and small businesses can also contribute that information. Looking at the data sources that feed into DebtorLogic, the ASIC, Australian Business Registry, and Magistrates Courts make up the backbone of all credit reporting in Australia, and they're, I guess, the key pieces of information around entity validation and also litigation. Then there's some proprietary information that is also added. So firstly, we have from debt collectors, which we call mercantile inquiries, and that is put into our system by 250 debt collectors that all access and use our service for pre-litigation work. For you, it's an early warning sign that someone might be taken to court. We also have a direct link with the ASIC insolvency notices.gov.au and allows us to get insolvency notices faster than anyone else in the market. This has real practical implications because if someone is going into insolvency today and you have a large shipment of goods going out to them, you'd much prefer that not to leave your warehouse rather than end up in the hands of an insolvent business. Also, some sources of data include our member defaults, and that comes from our 50,000 members. All of them are able to access and contribute default information. We check and verify all the defaults are genuine to make sure that they are there for the right reasons. And then I guess the big benefit of putting a default on the Creditor Watch service is that anyone dealing with Creditor Watch, they monitor all of their customers. So if you put a default on someone today, anyone else dealing with that company will know about it tomorrow. So the word of mouth spreads really fast, which is fantastic. The whole idea with default is to get more bang for your buck. And by telling everyone that deals with that company straight away, hopefully they have to come back to you sooner and settle that debt with you before they can get credit elsewhere. Let's quickly look at a live demonstration of DebtorLogic now. So we're going to look at some payment trends, some cool reporting tools that allows you to grab a management report out of the system, and also looking at how best to prioritize collections. So this is DebtorLogic, and this can be found by clicking the DebtorLogic button up in the black bar within Creditor Watch. If you're already subscribed to this service, it'll open the service up for you. If not, you can send through an inquiry and we can get in contact with you and talk about how to set this service up for you. So DebtorLogic is designed to be a tool that I guess you can really manage yourself. It's really easy to upload your own age trial balances. I have a number of customers that do this multiple times per month, which allows them to track their collections for their team over time. However, most people just upload it once a month on either the first or the second once their ATB reporting is concluded. The good thing about this is when you upload that information, or if we do it for you, all the results are available live, so you can come straight back into the portal and it will have all the data populated there for you. On this cover page, we show you your aging information over time. So this is really good for looking at trends, especially seasonal trends, and also looking at whether your collections are getting ideally better or worse over time. These graphs can be all toggled to focus on one specific area as well. So if you're only interested in the current and 1 to 30 days overdue, it will rejig the scale and allow you to view this in a more close and easy to read manner. All of these graphs can also be downloaded, which is great for management reporting. You can extract them from the system and then put them into Excel or into a Word document. Where we start to add real value is when we look at a specific age trial balance and the information that's contained within. So on the summary page, it summarizes the outstanding information for you, whether that be in the 1 to 30, 60, 30 to 60, 60 to 90 brackets. There's a number of ways to view your outstanding information also. Once again, all of these graphs can be downloaded so you can put them into a report if need be. We also show you bar graphs in terms of dollar value versus outstanding accounts, and pie graphs which make up the percentage of overdue and where it fits in your portfolio. You can specifically look at a single bucket of debts. So if I want to focus and do a blast of collections on the 60 to 90 day accounts, you can actually pull them here. You can also download all this information and it will let you know the total overdue plus the amounts overdue. Now, I must just stress all this information in here is dummy data. So if you see any names in here, please don't worry. You don't actually have an overdue invoice. Where we start to add some real value is in this risk analysis section. So what we'll actually do is look at your current age trial balance and let you know what risk factors are associated with the companies you're currently dealing with and where the dollar values sit. Now, all of these sections are clickable. So if you wanted to drill down specifically into that area, it will pull out those companies for you. So this is firstly a good way to prioritize collections in the risk analysis. If you look for things like winding up notices, for example, obviously if someone's in a winding up notice, they either don't know about it or they need to rectify something with ASIC, and the likelihood is that the company will be deregistered in the next month or so unless they're notified otherwise. So these are companies you might want to call, let them know, and also chase up any outstanding amount. Any entities with an ABN or an ACN change, you need to look at whether they've just changed an ABN and not let you know, in which case you have to get a new credit application, or if it's actually something more sinister and they've gone into administration. With payment defaults, it's a really good idea. This also includes mercantiles, inquiries and court action. It's a really good idea to check the dollar value associated with it, but most importantly, check if there's other pieces of adverse information on the same entity. An entity that has multiple bits of adverse and maybe a director leaving is a significantly higher credit risk than someone with just one court action, for example. But I guess you have to take that into consideration, the dollar values you deal with this entity and how far they are overdue. In the entity type section, you can see the type of entities you're dealing with. People like to ascertain the trust-trustee relationships. Obviously, entities that are a trust, partnership and sole trader are typically riskier than public and private companies, and also government entities. An interesting one with government entities is people always ask me, why do I have to monitor these entities? Yes, they are nice and stable, but they do change their ABN very often. And although it might not result in non-payment, the hassle of trying to chase up an invoice with an incorrect ABN, or if a government department changes, getting the right contact details can be very tricky and time-consuming. So sometimes it's good to be proactive and be notified of those ABN changes straight away. Top 10 balances. This allows you to see the top 10 balances of all your accounts. Now, where this is really handy is you can actually apply filters to your age trial balance. So if you're a company with multiple branches or brands, or even do reporting on a state basis, you can filter your companies based on those things. The thing to remember with filters is once you apply them, it's really important to take them off. Otherwise, it messes all your figures around. But it does have that ability to segment your age trial balance as many ways as you like. All you have to do is add a custom column so we can split it up by that identifier which you wish to. Now, looking at high risk flags, once again, downloadable to Excel, and this is a really good one for collectors to look at. It's those entities that have some type of adverse information and where their overdues sit. You can filter by the columns by clicking, and it will let you know the highest balance or the lowest balance first. So for example, in this instance, Prestige Bricks has a dummy data owing of 306,000 and has this number of ASIC and risk alerts associated with it. So this is one you'd want to be contacting the creditor, for example, because it looks like they're going through the administration and wind-up process. Some are a little bit less sinister, like an ABN change or a smaller court action, etc. but it's good to be able to help identify this information. The final thing in this in the summary and risk analysis section is the credit score changes. So what this will let you do is identify companies that have had an increase or a decrease in a credit score in the last month. So those that are increasing in credit score, they might be entities that you want to extend more credit to. So it's all about proactively letting your sales reps know that, look, they seem to be tracking okay, they're paying us on time, etc. They're the ones you might want to extend more credit to. The decline in a credit score means there's either an adverse payment experience, some type of court action, default or mercantile inquiry, a status change, a previous directorship that's affected the score, etc. So they're the ones you might want to look into a little bit more. Especially big drops like these here, they're ones that you really need to check out because there's probably an insolvency or multiple pieces of adverse that have gone through. Now, the really good thing about DebtorLogic Plus is it doesn't cost you to click through to view the credit report. So if we wanted to see what has affected Mackie Pty Ltd, all I have to do is click it, and as part of your subscription, it opens that new credit report and allows us to assess that entity also. So if a credit manager or a collector is using this, it really empowers you to make better conversations with a debtor. You might be able to give you a little bit of insight into who they are and ask for the director of the business rather than just asking for accounts receivable, for example, or maybe even mention that there's been a previous court action and you're reducing the credit limit that has been associated with their account. So it makes it a more powerful conversation when you're speaking to debtors. So now what we're going to do is look at Creditor Watch's scores. So we have two credit scores. One is called a credit worthiness score and the other one is a payment predictor. So the credit worthiness score is a hybrid score and it looks at both risk information and payment information. So this really tells you, do you want to do business with that entity? The reason that we have a hybrid score is typically because if someone has a someone, for example, like Woolworths, they have a very low risk score because they're a nice, big, stable entity, but they have a very, very high payment score because they tend to pay the market significantly later than most other companies because they have that sway power. The reason we've blended it is so you can make a proper credit assessment to say, great, they're a fantastic organisation, but they're going to pay me late, so we might build some additional margin into this. Or I might have to start my collection process slightly earlier so that we can make sure that payment is actually done on time and you're able to re-educate them to make those meet those payment terms. So in this first graph here, what we have is the credit score, and it's out of 850, which is the best, and 0 being the worst. And our other score, which is our payment predictor, which is purely a payment score. Now, this payment predictor derives information from two sources, and I mentioned them earlier. Firstly, it's large corporate age trial balance information. So large businesses submit this on a monthly basis and contribute the information to our bureau. And then the second source of information, I think, which is the most important information, is our small business payment information. And we get this from our live link with Xero and MYB. And it gives us really up-to-date payment information of the most vulnerable companies in Australia. The corporate payment information is great and it's really nice to have, but it has some limitations. One, it's only delivered every 30 days, so it basically means it's always out of date, so it's only delivered once a month. And two, the companies that are actually providing this information are the best paid companies in Australia. It means that it probably paints a slightly rosier picture of how people are paying bills across the board. And that's why that small business payment information is so important. It allows us to get a live stream every 5 minutes, so almost live payment information. And it also is coming from entities which are the first to be defaulted if someone is having cash flow problems. So it gives that really early warning sign that an entity might be having problems with cash flow. So as I said, along the top, here is our credit worthiness score. So that's the score that says, do you want to do business with someone? And then down the side is the payment predictor, which is the pure payment score. Now, the whole idea with all of these graphs is that you shoot for the green areas, you monitor the orange, and you try and avoid the red. So in the green areas, these are companies that have a very strong and robust credit score and are paying the market either on terms or 1 to 15 days overdue. And they're customers that you would want to extend more credit to, or they're the customers that are your best customers. As we come along this side, we have companies that have a very poor credit score or a lower credit score. So there's probably some signs of adverse information on their credit profile. It might also include past directed behavior, etc., that is flagged as a warning sign. They're still paying the market from the data that we have on time, but these would definitely be your riskiest customers, and these are the ones that I would start to prioritize collection on. If you end up down here and our test data doesn't have any, thank goodness, but these are the worst customers. These are the ones that are paying the market extremely late and also have a very low credit score. So they're customers you would want to put on a COD basis. Don't forget, with all these data and information, it's not about cutting customers off. You can still extend product and service to someone, but you might just shift the method in which you're dealing with them to COD rather than on account terms. If you then look at the corner down here, these people are paying the market quite late, but they are a very stable entity. So these are the companies that you're wanting to chase money off first. In our eyes, they're stable big entities that are probably just using you as a bank. So these are the entities that you might want to start trying to start your collection process slightly earlier and then chasing that up first. The graph below is exactly the same, except it just lets you know how many entities fall into each bucket. Now, the good thing about this is if you want to do a blast on a certain portfolio, all you have to do is click through and it'll actually show you the entities that are listed in that area. And you can also download that to Excel with your account number and try and get someone to chase up that outstanding amount for you. The next section, what we do is take our individual scores and then overlay your age trial balance information. So this one, for example, is looking at our payment predictor, so our payment score, and then how you're being paid. So what this really does is helps analyze how you're being paid versus the market. Now, once again, shoot for the green areas, avoid the red areas, and monitor the orange or yellow. So these customers, they're paying you on time and they're also paying the market on time. These customers over here, they're paying the market on time but you late. So they're the ones you want to start chasing money off. They're using you as a bank. So it probably means one of two things. You're a secondary supplier to them, so someone that they can afford to default and get your product elsewhere, or they're just abusing your payment terms that you've set up. And it might be a re-education process around trying to get that those accounts paid slightly earlier. Once again, if you click on the section, it will take you straight through. If we look at the corner down here, these are people who are paying the market late, but you on time. Now, people often say, oh, that's not a worry to me. But what I would suggest is that means you're a key supplier to these companies, and you will probably be the last to know that they're having cash flow problems. And when they fall, they might sting you for a significant amount. So these companies are ones that you would want to start monitoring really closely, checking on that monitoring for adverse or directed changes in those businesses. And if you get really worried about it, potentially moving to a COD basis only. If we look in this area, this is the worst corner to be in. And this is where people are paying you late and the market late. and also ones that you probably want to start chasing any arrears out of pretty quickly. Once again, the two tables, one shows the dollar value, the other shows the number of accounts associated with that. We then just have a couple of quick pie graphs which summarize that information. The final piece of analysis, we have at your ATB data versus the credit score. So that's the credit worthiness score, and do you want to be dealing with these entities? In the green areas, these are people that are paying you on time and have a very robust credit score, which is fantastic. They're companies that you want to keep. In this corner, they're people who are paying you late, but are very robust. So they might be larger organizations or people who have the money that just aren't using it to pay you. So that might be a way of prioritizing collections for your collectors in a slightly different manner. Down in this corner, the worst possible customers, they're paying you late and their credit score is very low. In this band 1 to 125, you'll quite often find a number of entities in insolvency, administration, etc. And in this bottom left corner, this is people who are paying you on time but have a very low credit score. So these are entities which you might be a critical supplier to and entities that you want to monitor closely. Once again, number of accounts versus dollar value associated with it. So something that I always talk to my customers about is stimulation for when you're getting collectors to chase people. Creditor Watch and this tool really empowers them to have a bit more information and a better educated conversation when they're speaking to someone. The beauty about this also is when they click through and look at credit reports, etc., it doesn't cost you an arm and a leg. It's all included in your monthly subscription, so they can't rack up a huge bill by doing investigations. Also, don't forget those people are calling the same companies month in, month out, and usually by the 28th, they always have the same names that they have to collect off. By slightly adjusting the way that they start to collect accounts, by looking at lower hanging fruit, people who are using your bank but are stable entities, it introduces some new names and a bit of new enthusiasm for the role as well. So allows them to speak to someone different rather than Joe every 28th of the month because they haven't paid their previous month's bill, for example. And what you'll see is a positive tick in cash flow when you're speaking to some of these customers on a more regular basis that know that they can string your payment terms out to 60 days without getting a call or without getting a letter, for example. So it's about resetting expectations with those customers. So that's a quick overview of DebtorLogic and a quick demonstration for today. One thing I will also touch on quickly is our debt collection tools. And that kind of goes hand in hand with this DebtorLogic Plus demonstration. We have a number of tools which allow you to create reminder notices, final notices, and overdue letters. It would go out with your letterhead, your payment methods, everything like that. It does leverage the Creditor Watch brand, which allows customers to know that they're being watched. It is human nature that we feel if we're being watched, we act slightly more sensibly. And there's no different to companies who are doing their payment terms. If they think they're being watched by Creditor Watch, it allows you to hopefully get some of that payment in a little bit earlier. So I'm just going to launch a quick poll now and just ascertain if any of you are using a trade program at the moment. It should pop up on your screen. Just looking at some other upcoming webinars as well. If you go to creditorwatch.com.au/webinars, you can find a recording of all the previous webinars that we've done here to reference and go back to, and it'll also let you know upcoming webinars that we're doing. It's a good way to identify some learnings that you want to join in. So thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. If you're interested in looking at DebtorLogic Plus or would like a trial of the product, please email the address there or your account manager, or you can give us a call direct. We also have live chat on our website. So if you go to creditorwatch.com.au during business hours, you can live chat to someone in our administration team and our inside sales team who can help you out. And that's about it for today. Thanks so much, and I'll speak to you all next time.